Welcome back to Panda Audiobooks. You are listening to Pursuit of the Truth by Gen, Episode 4, covering chapters 10, 11, and 12. Su Ming faces unprecedented danger as his enemies realize the true potential of the young berserker. This segment is defined by intense conflict, significant cultivation breakthroughs, and major developments that force Su Ming to rely on cunning as much as brute strength. He continues his relentless pursuit of the truth, even if it means stepping onto the battlefield alone. Prepare for the turning tide of battle. Chapter 10. Quenching. The hole was strange. It was completely even in size. When Su Ming saw the end of the hole some 100 feet later, he started slowing down. He approached the exit carefully. As he looked out, he was momentarily stunned, then he took a deep breath. This was a fire cave. There were vast amounts of stalactites hanging from the ceiling. The surface of these rocks were dry and cracked, as if they would crumble into pieces at any moment. The ground was black, but there were lines upon lines of red rocks flowing downwards, turning the place brown. The heat was even stronger in here compared to when they were outside. There was a black skeleton hanging near him. The skeleton was about 80 to 90 feet long, and Su Ming could tell with just one glance that it was the skeleton of a python. On the python's head was a horn about the size of an arm. It was black in color. Su Ming had never seen such a long python before, but he remembered hearing from his elder that there was once a species of pythons in Dark Dragon Mountain. They were fierce creatures, and these pythons all possessed horns on their heads. They were known as horned pythons, and the sharpness of the horn could be given to the tribe as tribute. There was one such horn in the Dark Mountain tribe, and it was treated as the symbol of the tribe leader in the tribe. Could this be the horned python? He looked at the horned python skeleton, then at the cave he was located, and an answer formed in his head. In his silence, Su Ming took out one of the herbs from the basket and threw it downwards. As the herb floated downwards and was about to touch the floor, it let out a sizzling sound. About 15 minutes later, it withered. He tried a few more times to test the heat on the ground, and decided that while the heat was strong, he could withstand it for some time, as long as he did not touch the red stones. Xiao Hong was already growing impatient. If it did not know the dangers of this place, it would have jumped down much earlier. Su Ming climbed out of the hole carefully, then jumped downwards and landed on the floor. Immediately, there were sizzling sounds coming from underneath his feet. A wave of heat seeped into his body from his feet, but it would not be strong enough to burn his feet for the time being. When Xiao Hong entered the fire cave, sweat poured down its body like a river. It pondered for a while before returning once more to the small hole, refusing to go back into the fire cave. Instead, it chose to go somewhere else to play. Su Ming did not continue trying to persuade it, but chose to carry the basket on his back and hurry onward. He could tell that this was connected to the inner parts of Black Flame Mountain, and there just might be a suitable place for quenching herbs later. Not far down the road was an empty space. Su Ming did not know where it was connected to. There were a few potholes on the ground, and the heat was even stronger over there. Su Ming could even feel a scalding heat underneath his feet. He was just about to step on the empty space after a brief moment of hesitation when he felt a strong wave of heat bursting forth. Su Ming let out a yelp and immediately retreated, his pupils dilating in fear. He saw a blast of fire the size of an arm rushing forth from one of the potholes, lighting up the cave instantly. Su Ming took in a deep breath and retreated once more until he reached the mouth of the cave. Then he cast his gaze forward. About half an hour passed before the fire gradually disappeared. But no sooner than it did, another blast of fire emerged from another pothole. As soon as it disappeared, another blast of fire came out once more. It was an endless cycle. Fire! Su Ming stared at the potholes, then his eyes gradually lit up in excitement. There is fire here. But they will appear only once in a while, and it's not a stable source of fire either. Once the excitement faded, Su Ming took a moment to gather his thoughts, feeling a little disappointed. No matter. I might be able to reach the deepest parts of the mountain through the peak of the mountain, and I might even find a better place which might be hidden here. If there's any danger, I can leave quickly as well. Very well, this will be my very first place to perform quenching. Su Ming's eyes were bright with excitement as he looked around. I have fire now, so the only thing I'm missing now is the barren cauldron. I'll make one myself. Su Ming then cast his gaze on the scattered rocks on the ground. These stones have been here for many years, but have not turned into ashes. They must be able to withstand a great amount of heat, so they should be able to be used for quenching. Su Ming scratched his head, then changed the herbs underneath his feet before jumping down once more. He chose a more suitable looking piece of stone, then touched the surface after a brief moment of hesitation. It was not too hot, just a bit warm. Once he was certain of using the big stone as a material, Su Ming took out his own spatula. The spatula was extremely sharp and had been constantly polished by Su Ming himself. As he took up the spatula, he used every ounce of his strength and started cutting into the stone. It was an extremely dull process, but one Su Ming was already used to. There was no hesitation within his movements, but as he was cutting into the stone, a thought suddenly crossed his mind. He looked at the skull of the python, and especially at the horn on its skull. Su Ming went over quickly and looked at the skull for a moment. He gave a light knock at the skull, and when he did, there was a cracking sound, and the entire skeleton immediately turned into ashes. Only the black horn remained unscathed. I knew it. This horn is extraordinary. I was just wondering how the python came to this place. Su Ming picked up the horn and sliced it across the wall to his side. There was a crack following his motion, but the scene did not surprise Su Ming. But why did the horned python climb into this place? Su Ming did not understand, but he still took up the horn and went to the rock and started cutting into it. With the help of the horn, after a few hours, a stone stove that was almost similar to the barren cauldron in Su Ming's memories was born. Su Ming even made a lid for it to keep the heat from escaping from within the cauldron. Let's try it out first. Su Ming was excited. He pushed the barren cauldron to the potholes and forced himself to calm down as he waited. After a few hours, after numerous blasts of fire finally emerged from the pothole near Su Ming. As soon as the fire erupted, Su Ming pushed the stone stove right on top of the erupting pothole. Su Ming was nervous. It all depended on whether the cauldron he made could withstand the heat now. Very soon, the cauldron became red and heat rolled off from its surface. There were even sizzling sounds, and Su Ming saw the surface of the cauldron cracking in multiple times. Su Ming felt his heart still, but when there were no signs of the stone crumbling, he gradually began to relax. 2 hours. There is only 2 hours each time. I don't think it's enough. Su Ming sank into his own thoughts. It can even be said that he was truly spending all his effort to make sure this quenching process would work. Then how about this? Su Ming took a few steps back. He may have a plan in his head, but he did not dare act recklessly. Instead, he stood at a place that was not too hot and focused on those potholes. A day passed by while he was doing that. During that period of time, the little monkey dropped by and left some fruits on a place that was not too hot before leaving once more to play. As for the stone cauldron, it withstood the test of fire and did not crumble no matter how many times it was burned. There seems to be some sort of rule for the eruptions, but there doesn't seem to be any rules either. After a day, Su Ming picked up the horn and went to the potholes, cutting a ravine on the ground, connecting one of the potholes underneath the cauldron. He did not stop there, but instead make 6 other ravines before retreating. Very soon, one of the potholes erupted once more, and most of the flames flowed into the ravine and went underneath the cauldron. I made it. Su Ming only looked at it for a moment before going off to make another 5 ravines, then he backed off to observe for another day. As he was sure his method worked in extending the period of time for the fire underneath his cauldron, he became relaxed. To tell the truth, he was worried about it. The lines of the ravines were not drawn on a whim. He had to make sure that the flames underneath the cauldron were not too strong or too weak, or else the pills would come out misshapen. After all, there were times when several potholes erupted at once. If this happened multiple times, then it might be dangerous. Once he solved 2 of the most basic of his problems, Su Ming calmed down and began his very first quenching process according to the memories in his head. He had the little monkey preparing his meals for him, and there were times when Su Ming went out to hunt some smaller prey before bringing them into the cave to roast it. Su Ming also used a chance to tell the hunting team from his own tribe about the elder in Black Mountain tribe as he met them by chance while he was out hunting. Time passed by, and sounds of frustrations could be heard from this place that he claimed as his own for the purposes of quenching. Half a month had passed by. Su Ming's eyes had turned red by this point. For the entirety of the half a month he spent, for all the numerous times he tried refining the herbs he had, there was not once where he was successful. He was now at the first level in the realm of blood solidification, and he even manifested 4 blood veins. If only he could manifest 2 more, then he would reach the second level in the realm of blood solidification. Once he reached the second level, then Su Ming would be able to use the first of the berserker arts which he inherited from the statue of the god of berserkers. This was a dream for Su Ming, and also the reason why he did not give up on trying to create the medicinal pills. But after a month's worth of failures, Su Ming was at the verge of giving up. But his obstinacy did not allow him to give up so easily. "I won't believe it. Xiao Hong, collect herbs for me again." Su Ming threw the basket towards the little monkey baring its teeth at the mouth of the cave, then continued trying to create the pills. The little monkey caught the basket and grinned before running out. Days passed. Failures upon failures. Another half a month passed by. During this day, as Su Ming stood in front of the cauldron with his hair in a mess, he held 2 herbs in his hands. They were both red in color. One of them had 6 petals, and the other 5 petals. Which one should I use? Su Ming knew he did not have much time to think, so he grit his teeth and made his decision. Chapter 11. Blood Boiling. I might as well try everything. Su Ming grit his teeth and threw the flower with 6 petals into the stone cauldron. The herb with 6 petals was the one he found from the mud. It was the one that gave off a scent that seemed to make the blood boil. The moment the herb touched the medicinal concoction in the cauldron, Su Ming saw a red, alluring light from within it. He did not cover the cauldron with a lid, but chose to step forward and walk around the cauldron. He selected a few of the ravines that still had the liquid fire flowing down like a stream and jammed the horn horizontally in their paths to stop the flow temporarily, making it easier for him to control the fire. The ravines on the ground have increased since a month ago, and most of them were covered in horizontal marks that looked like scars. This was a method Su Ming invented to control the fire after a month of trial and error. Su Ming was incredibly nervous. Almost all of his attention was on the barren cauldron he made. According to his observations in the past month, the place he was standing was safe for the next hour, so he did not need to care about anything else. Time passed by, and as soon as the hour was up, Su Ming immediately retreated from the place. Not long after he left the place, a huge blast of fire erupted from the ground. As the fire continued bursting forth, Su Ming was also sweating like a river as he stood not too far away from the source of the fire. But he kept his gaze on the cauldron. From the experience he had accumulated a month ago, he knew that there was still 14 to 18 hours left before he could see the results. During this time, he would need to adjust the strength of the flames according to the changes with the medicinal concoction, and he especially needed to put the lid on the cauldron at the final moments of making the medicine pills so that the heat within the cauldron will increase to incredible levels and the heat will gather to create the medicinal pills. He had been repeating this act numerous times in the past month. It could even be said that he was already used to it by now. 2 hours, 4 hours passed by. Slowly, the cauldron started letting out a red mist. The mist had no smell, but as the strange light shone, it made Su Ming's blood boil when he looked at it. During this time, he adjusted the strength of the fire a few times, and he did so until it turned dark outside. Su Ming's eyes were red and bloodshot. He had used almost the entire day on creating the medicinal pills, and if everything had been working well so far, then there was only one final step left. Through the red mist, Su Ming could see that there was not much liquid left within the cauldron, and it was bubbling inside. When each bubble burst, the red mist would rise from within. It's almost done. After numerous failures, Su Ming's eyes lit up. Without any hesitation, he grabbed the lid by his side and covered the cauldron. The moment he closed the cauldron, a low rumbling sound could be heard echoing within the cave. It all depends on luck now. Once he covered the cauldron, Su Ming let out a huge breath and retreated a few steps before sitting down with his legs crossed. He closed his eyes and rested. He knew that he had done everything that he could, and success depended entirely on luck now. 2 hours went by. The roaring sound from within the cauldron increased exponentially and continued 9 times before it gradually became quiet. There was no longer any sound beside the fire underneath the cauldron. Su Ming did not open his eyes but chose instead to continue resting and wait. It was not until the brief period of time when the next eruption was about to start and when the fire underneath the cauldron began growing weaker that Su Ming opened his eyes and grabbed some heat-resistant herbs in his right hand before moving forward and pushing the lid on the cauldron away. The moment the lid was opened, a red wave of heat rushed into his face, but Su Ming was already prepared. The instant he opened the lid, he moved backwards. He waited until the red wave of heat dispersed, then with his heart beating in trepidation and excitement, he moved forward slowly and looked into the cauldron. With just a glance, Su Ming began laughing loudly. Right at the very bottom of the cauldron were 3 red medicinal pills. He retrieved the pills carefully, then sat by the side in excitement as he kept looking at the very mysterious object he had only seen in his memories. Su Ming loved the little round pills, and he even brought them to his nose to smell them. But instead of a medicinal scent, they emitted a faint stench of blood. The pill was also abnormally fragile. If Su Ming used a bit more strength, the pills would crumble into dust. But Su Ming did not care much about that. 1 month has gone by, and I've finally managed to make it once. The more Su Ming looked at it, the happier he was, and as he was about to pop one into his mouth, he hesitated. Su Ming forcefully quelled his excitement. In his mind, he saw the odd scene when he was picking the red herb with 6 petals. If this herb was the key to creating these pills, then I wonder whether the other one can do it as well. Su Ming placed the 3 pills at a safe location, then took out the red herb with 5 petals. There was a moment of silence before Su Ming made up his mind. Once he took note of the time, he closed his eyes and meditated. He started moving the blood in his veins all over his body to recover from fatigue. The little monkey returned at midnight, and as it climbed into the cave its face was seemingly intoxicated as it sniffed its right claw. It did not bother Su Ming, but chose to lie down in a place that was not too hot. It had already gotten used to this place over the past month. Yet even though it was lying down, it still kept sniffing at its right claw, the intoxicated look becoming more visible on its face. It started cackling as it remembered something. It was not until the next morning before Su Ming opened his eyes and moved his body. The fatigue he felt on the previous day was completely gone. With his stamina recovered and almost overflowing, Su Ming took the herb with 5 petals and continued with the quenching process. After a few days, Su Ming stepped out of the fire cavern as he had not left for quite a few days. When he saw the sun, he felt its glare on his eyes. He was already used to the red glare of the fires within the fire cave, and now that he looked once more at the brightness from the sun, he was a little unused to it. As he stood there breathing in fresh air, Su Ming waited for his eyes to adjust to the brightness of the sun, then carefully surveyed his surroundings before climbing down. He was quick as he did so, and he remained alert of his surroundings. With the little monkey keeping watch as well, they did not encounter any dangers and made it down the mountain safely. They found a river that let out hot steam at the feet of the mountain. Su Ming took off his clothes and soaked himself in the water, feeling the fatigue that had accumulated in his body disappearing. He and Xiao Hong hurriedly left the river reluctantly. He had much more important things to do. Su Ming and Xiao Hong traveled with blinding speed in the forest. After covering some distance, Su Ming caught some terrifying-looking beasts in his hands. There were also some in the little monkey's claws. At a slightly more remote corner in the forest, Su Ming took a glance at the 4 tied-up beasts roaring at him, then ignored them and took out 2 small bottles from his bosom. Within the 2 bottles were 2 types of pills. One of them was red and slightly terrifying to look at, while the other was green, with a faint medicinal smell traveling to his nostrils. With just a whiff, he felt refreshed. The green pill was the one Su Ming made a few days ago using the herb with 5 petals. The scattering dust. If I follow my instincts, then the green one is the scattering dust, then what on earth is the red pill? Su Ming narrowed his eyes. There were 3 pills each in the bottles. He took one of each out and looked at the beasts before moving towards them. Once he fed the 2 pills to 2 different beasts, Su Ming retreated a few steps back and observed them nervously. Even the little monkey was affected by his mood and grew nervous. He waited for a long time, but there were no changes within the 2 beasts that consumed the pills. They were still hissing and roaring at Su Ming, their faces contorted in rage. Su Ming frowned. He waited for a bit longer, but nothing happened. How could this be? Logically speaking, something must have happened. But at least it's not poisonous. Could it be, this isn't to be consumed, but to be used externally? Once Su Ming got the idea, he took out the horn and went to the other two beasts that did not take the medicine, then cut open two small wounds on their bodies so that blood flowed out. The little monkey quickly followed behind him to watch. Su Ming then took another 2 pills from the bottle and placed it on their wounds. At that moment, something happened. The moment the red pill touched the wound on the creature's body, within just a few seconds, its entire body started trembling furiously and it turned into a pool of blood. Before the blood could even fall onto the ground, it burst into flames and turned into red mist. The little beast did not even have time to scream. All of this happened in an instant, and it happened so quickly Su Ming let out a cry of alarm before retreating quickly. The little monkey was also shocked and let out whimpers of alarm as it retreated hastily. This is... Su Ming took in a sharp breath, his eyes filled with terror. He did not expect that the red pill he made would have such shocking effects. When the red mist disappeared in the air, there was only a pile of purplish-red bones left on the ground. A terrifying sight to behold. The other creatures, while they were very close to the beast just now, were not affected, but it was clear that they were frightened by it. Su Ming's breathing was erratic and quick. After a long while, he looked at the bottle containing the red pill. There was only one left, but that pill alone was enough to make him think that it was a bloodthirsty item. There are no effects if it was consumed, but if it comes into contact with blood, then death is assured. Since I was the one who made this, then it will be named Scattering Blood. Su Ming murmured. He forced his fears to go away and put away the pill carefully. He had a feeling that this object could very well be used as a weapon in the future. Then this green pill should be the real scattering dust. Just what are the effects though? Su Ming fell momentarily silent, then his gaze fell upon the little beast that was still completely fine even though the pill had melted into its wound. Chapter 12. Su Ming's Wrath. Su Ming thought for a long time, but he still could not figure out the effects of the scattering dust. In the memories he obtained, he only acquired the methods to make the pills, not their effects. Su Ming only left the place with the slightest bit of hesitation when the sun was at its highest in the sky. They ran back to the place where he had performed the quenching. The little monkey did not stay long. It ran outside as soon as it came back to the cave. Su Ming felt the breeze on his skin as he leaned against the wall of the mountain. In his hands were the green pills and he began thinking as he held them. Just what is its use? Neither consuming the pill nor applying it externally worked. He frowned. He finally managed to make the pills, but he could not determine their effects. It made Su Ming feel as if the past month had been a waste. He stared at the pills and made his decision. I'll just have to try it on my own. Let's see what happens once I swallow it. Su Ming was the decisive sort. Once he made a decision, he never hesitated. He quickly placed the scattering dust in his hand, into his mouth. The pill immediately melted once it touched his tongue. A strong medicinal taste filled his mouth and turned into a strong wave of heat that flowed into all parts of his body. It disappeared soon, however, and Su Ming did not feel much from it. Su Ming was stunned. He sat down hurriedly and meditated, trying to solidify the blood in his veins. However, it was to no avail. It was no different than before. He still felt that there was not enough blood in his body. He pulled at his hair, frustrated. This was the first time he truly felt that he had wasted the past month. Impossible, there must be some other use. Su Ming was disappointed, but he did not give up. Yet, no matter how much he pondered about it, he could not find any clues. The only thing he could do was sigh and laugh bitterly. After a while, the little monkey returned and approached Su Ming. It jumped around for a while before throwing some fruits in front of him, then leaving once more. Su Ming sighed. He was hungry, so he picked up one of the fruits and began thinking as he ate. 1, 2, 3. Before he knew it, Su Ming let out a burp and spat out the core. He stroked his belly and started thinking again. His gaze traveled to the fruits left on the ground, and just as he was about to look away, it struck him. I'm full. What? Su Ming stared at the fruits and immediately began counting the cores he spat on the ground. There were 15 in total. He felt that he had just come across something important. His heart pounded in excitement. I've always loved eating this fruit and Xiao Hong has always picked them for me. But I don't like eating too much in one go. At the same time, I'm usually only half full even after eating 10 of them. But just now, I only ate 15 of them and I'm already full. Is it because my appetite has decreased? Or perhaps, it has something to do with this. Su Ming licked his lips. He remembered that he had taken a scattering dust pill earlier on. Perhaps the scattering dust is actually a pill that can replace food. Or perhaps, the scattering dust can increase the effects of other things. Su Ming felt his heart pounding. He took a deep breath. He had been thinking carefully and exhaustively about the effects of the pill but had obtained no clues. Now that he had stumbled onto something, he was going to pursue it no matter how ridiculous it may seem. He immediately crawled back into the little hole which he used for the sole purpose of quenching herbs. He remembered that he still had a little bit of dark dragon's saliva left. This was a rare item. It was impossible to obtain it without rain, and he had been reluctant to drink what little amount he had left. He quickly ventured into the cave. Su Ming took out the bottle that contained the few drops of dark dragon's saliva left from the basket. He then swallowed it all in one gulp without hesitation. Su Ming was extremely familiar with the dark dragon's saliva. With just a few drops, he immediately felt the faint traces of coldness from the liquid traveling to all parts of his body before seeping into his blood. The cold sensation brought upon by the dark dragon's saliva suddenly increased a little, at least by 1-fold. It may not seem much, but Su Ming could really feel it. As the coldness became one with his blood, it felt like his blood started to boil. It caused the four manifested to glow a bloody red. As he controlled the flow of blood in his body. After a long while, Su Ming opened his eyes and let out a shaky breath. His eyes were filled with happiness and excitement. I knew it. There are no effects if the scattering dust is taken alone, but if taken with other objects, then the effects of those objects will increase. It seems like a simple effect, but it's really quite extraordinary. Su Ming felt his spirits lift up. The process of creating scattering dust was now a huge motivation for him. There were 15 tiny holes on the door which gave me the methods to create scattering dust. It must be for me to place 15 of these pills in there, but I don't even have enough for myself now. Su Ming fell silent. Then, he let out a string of murmurs slowly after a brief period of hesitation. Once he made up his mind, he immediately went to the barren cauldron and began processing the remaining herbs by quenching. Besides processing the herbs, he also made the little monkey continue searching for the herbs his grandfather would take away in huge bundles. Then, using the method in his tribe, he mashed the herbs and turned them into liquid before drinking it. With the help of the scattering dust, his training speed grew faster. 2 months had passed by. Su Ming barely left the cave during those 2 months. The fire cavern had practically become his second home. The location could not be easily discovered, hence, Su Ming felt at ease training there. Within those 2 months, he had prepared a lot of scattering dust. With the help of the medicinal concoction which helped increase his blood rate, he gradually managed to manifest the 5th blood vein on his body. The 6th blood vein too had begun appearing vaguely on his body. If this continued, then it would manifest very soon. Winter had already arrived outside. The other mountains were covered by snow except Black Flame Mountain. Snow would melt before it could even touch the surface of the mountain. Due to this, the mountain was surrounded by a thick layer of fog. It was a strange sight to see from afar. If an outsider saw it for the first time, the mountain would definitely pique his or her interest. Su Ming grew up there, so the strange sights of the mountain were nothing new to him. That day, Su Ming sat down with his legs crossed and the blood-red glow was incredibly strong within his body. The 5 blood veins crawled all over his body as if they possessed life. It was a shocking sight to behold. As the blood-red glow kept spreading around his body, sweat accumulated all over Su Ming's body. His body trembled, but his face was filled with determination. This was his third attempt at manifesting the sixth blood vein during the past half a month. Once he managed to do it, he would successfully become a berserker at the second level in the blood solidification realm. More importantly, he would be able to use the very first berserker art. It was one that belonged only to their tribe, an art known as Spirit Devourer. The Spirit Devourer was not a skill that could be used without preparation. Some fresh animal carcasses would be required. By gathering the berserker blood in their bodies, practitioners could sense the spirit of the deceased animal and bring it out to increase their own strength temporarily. Only after they have mastered this particular skill would they be known as a berserker. They would then be different from the other members of the tribe. They would be much stronger. After a long while, Su Ming's body continued to tremble. The bloody glow surrounding his body gradually disappeared, and the 5 blood veins on his skin also sank into his body once more. The solidification of the 6th blood vein had failed once again. Su Ming let out a deep breath. After a moment of silence, he mixed some medicinal concoction with the scattering dust and drank it before continuing with his training. Another month passed by. The entire Dark Dragon Mountain was covered by a thick layer of snow. The fog surrounding Black Flame Mountain had also grown thicker. Even the heat seemed to disappear in the weather. The year's coldest season was about to arrive. However, for Su Ming, this was the most important moment. His diligence in training, coupled with his supply of herbs and scattering dust, increased his training speed exponentially in the blood solidification realm. The 6th blood vein had appeared, and it was at a critical moment of manifestation. The little monkey also refused to go out in winter. Its entire body was red, and that made it extremely eye-catching in the snow. Even if it was not winter, it would have to lay low. It squatted down beside Su Ming and yawned as it watched him. All of a sudden, the little monkey lifted its head. Its eyes were filled with a fierce glare and its ears twitched. Faint voices traveled into the cavern from the outside. "You Kai, are you sure the sky stone grows here? We've been searching this place for half a day and we still can't find any. Are you sure you got the right information?" It was a cold voice, and the little monkey quivered the moment it heard it. "It can't be. I remember seeing shrubs of the plant. That's why I cast a berserker art to hide it. It should have grown by now. The other members of the tribe come here often to collect herbs. They should be able to identify my spells." The voice that answered was sharp. "Then hurry up. If the sky stone is really here, then I'll be able to break through the 3rd level soon and reach the 4th level. As for you, you should be able to reach the 3rd level. Don't be in such a hurry. It should be here. I can feel the presence of my spell. If you can reach the 4th level, then you will be able to join the Black Mountains hunting team. I heard that the elder made a new rule that says anyone can keep their own game this time." Their voices were getting closer and sounded like they were right outside. The little monkey was so nervous it did not dare to breathe. It could feel that the 2 people outside posed a serious threat. It turned back to look at Su Ming multiple times, but Su Ming still had his eyes shut. His body was trembling slightly, and the bloody glow on his body was becoming stronger. The 6th blood vein seemed to show signs of complete manifestation as well. Yet, at that very moment, "Found it. Ha! Look, there's a small hole here. It's the sky stone." As for the hole, this was once the land of the Fire Berserker tribe. There's hot air around the hole. It should be empty. Since we're already here, we might as well go in and have a look. A simple hole can't stop me. Their voices traveled into the cave, and their words made the little monkey's face grow pale. It gritted its teeth and looked back at Su Ming for a long period of time. Then, it bared its teeth and rushed out of the little hole. Immediately, sounds of delight could be heard from the outside. "It's a fire ape, and a baby at that, ha ha. This must be its refuge from the cold. Catch it. Its blood can help me replenish my blood, and I'll offer its fur to the elder." Mournful cries could be heard after that, and then the voices gradually disappeared. However, within the cave, Su Ming's face had contorted in anger and he shook furiously. "You asked for this." Su Ming lifted his head and roared in rage. Chapters 10 through 12 conclude with a powerful demonstration of Su Ming's evolution, marking his transition into a truly formidable figure. The trials he faces reveal the cruel hierarchy of power in his world, pushing him further toward his ultimate, enigmatic destiny. Thank you for listening to this action-packed segment of Pursuit of the Truth from Panda Audiobooks. What new ability do you think Su Ming will master next? Share your thoughts below. Join us next time for episode 5, covering chapters 13, 14, and 15, as the saga leaves the tribal lands. Like, subscribe, and continue the epic journey.